Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and welcome to another Total War Warhammer online commentary. In this particular battle, I'm going to be playing the Warriors of Chaos, and we're going to be facing off against none other than New Bretonnia. So definitely time to make Chaos great again. And guys, I think these Chaos Knights are definitely one of not the only ingredient, but one of the ingredients to being successful in this matchup. I did some testing, and the Chaos Knights with Lances can actually outtrade Grail Knights, Knights of the Realm, and they can actually beat Questing Knights as well one-on-one. So they seem to be pretty cost effective. Another thing that I've been doing is pairing them with the Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Shadows and using the, let's go ahead and pause this here so I can get a nice little zoom in on this ability here. So it's a little bit tricky to do, so my apologies, guys. On the Mind Razor. So the Mind Razor gives 44% weapon damage, and then it also gives a pretty massive AP boost, which is just making these guys into absolute linebackers, and they're able to just overpower the Bretonnian Cav. And something else about that is a lot of Bretonnian players will just straight up engage you. They assume that Chaos Knights are terrible and that they can, take them with their Cav and their Questing Knights with the heavy AP, but that doesn't seem to be the case, and hopefully this game will be a good testament to that. Granted, I already have a pretty superior Cav force with 2 Chaos Knights facing off against Knights of the Realm and Questing Knights, so a lot more resources on my end here. But for the rest of my army here, I just have relative fodder in the front line, just Chaos Marauders. Again, they're just essentially designed to hold the line against the Foot Squires. I do have some Chaos Marauders with Great Weapons back here to just give a little bit of AP against the 70 armor of those Foot Squires over there. I also have Aspiring Champions who are absolutely essential especially in Marauder-centric compositions, because again, if you don't have these guys are going to rout so quickly. Their base leadership is pretty poor at the end of the day. So I did also bring a Chaos Giant because I had played about 3 or 4 games in a row against the Foot Squire spam, so they didn't bring any missiles. They just brought a horde of Foot Squires, and the Giant was just tearing people to pieces and winning me a lot of games. But unfortunately for me in this matchup, my opponent decided to switch it up as opposed to his Bretonnian friends and brought 4 Peasant Bowmen with fire arrows. So this Giant is in for a really, really bad time for sure. Lastly, guys, as far as my Lord goes, I've just been bringing the Chaos Lord on the horse. So he gets the dual potions. You get the Potion of Toughness and the Potion of Foolhardiness. And then lastly, you also get, let's go ahead and pause here. Actually, we don't need to really, but I've been getting Filth. So Filth gives plus 22% weapon damage. It makes him cause terror, which is great. And it also is pretty good for like trapping heroic units and just, doing a ton of work. So that's pretty much it for my army, guys. And let's jump right into my opponent. So we actually got some Yeoman Archers here. I actually like this pick because, again, if I had brought Forsaken or units like that, Yeoman are going to be really good at harassing those guys down. He also does have some more Questing Knights over here, and Questing Knights against Chaos are incredibly strong. They trade okay with the Chaos Knights with Lances. They still will lose in one-on-one, if I'm not mistaken. I'll need to do some more testing just to double check, because again, I think I only did like 1 or 2 tests, so it's not completely encompassing. But still, a very, very good choice against Chaos Armor. They do have an anti-infantry bonus in it. Do they actually have one built into them? So they don't actually, but I guess they're just good against infantry. So on top of that, he does have King Lu and Leon Kerr. On top of that, he does have a Damsel with the Lore of Beasts, actually. So he has Transformation of Kadan. He has the Flock of Doom, as well as Wyson's Wild Form. So definitely some fancy stuff there. Lastly, he does have a front line of Foot Squires. He has 4 peasants with fire arrows, so definitely some spooky, scary stuff over there. And then lastly, of course, the Knights of the Realm and the Questing Knights over there. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into the action. So it looks like he's detaching some of these Peasant Bowmen to help out in this Cav fight. So what I do over here is I actually use some of these Hounds to just kind of break the charge. So it completely negates the charge of these Knights of the Realm. You can see they're enveloped, they're poisoned, and guys, now it's time for the Chaos Knights to get in there and just absolutely skewer these guys. Chaos Knights are pretty beastly, actually, and I always felt like they were a little cost inefficient, but for some reason in the Bretonnian matchup, they seem to do really well. So I just get a completely advantageous charge, and then on that same coin, I use the Mind Razor, so you can see they get that 44% weapon damage, and look how fast these Knights of the Realm are just getting absolutely shredded by these Chaos Knights. And I think a lot of that was due to the fact that I was able to get that really good Hound surround. That's kind of fun. So King Luin is in here as well, helping out, but still the Knights of the Realm are essentially shut down. The Peasant Bowman fire doing pretty well, and also it's not going as well for me over here. He is using these Peasant Bowmen with the fire arrows to just absolutely shut down my Giant. So I actually decided to path it away and run, which was a bit of a mistake. I probably should have had it, just stay and fight to the death. I figured I could like get it out and then use it later in the fight, but still, it's a pretty tough situation for this big boy over here, but he's trying his best, guys. Just taking a peppering. So I'm losing pretty heavily on this front, I would say. He's also about to get a really advantageous charge with these Questing Knights because I overloaded that other flank really, really hard. So you can see these Chaos Marauders are in for a pretty bad time here. And man, look at that animation. That's so cool. They like do that underhanded swing and just launch at these guys. So some pretty good AP coming in here. They're going to do very well against my Aspiring Champs. But at the very end of the day, the Chaos Marauders are fodder units, so I guess it could be worse, right? But over here, I'm just able to completely dominate. The Knights of the Realm are just essentially routed off. My opponent actually focused my Sorcerer with King Luin, and that was really, really tough. I lost my Lore of Shadows so early. All I was able to get out of it was just simply one Mind Razor. I wasn't able to get a Pit of Shades or anything. So very, very well played on my opponent's part, taking that out. But again, he did lose a lot of resources in his Cav. And right now, these Chaos Knights are essentially free to push the back line. And in the front, Knights actually not going as bad as you would think. These Chaos Marauders seem to be holding up pretty well against the Foot Squires. They have 60 models left, and these ones have 43, but still, that's a really decent trade. But still, his Questing Knights are just having a field day running around in my back line because I did allocate all of my mobile resources to just try and overpower his mobile force here. In the center, the Aspiring Champs are doing a pretty good job of actually keeping these Marauders, and you can see some of his Foot Squires starting to falter. He was using some Flock of Dooms earlier, and you can see it looks like he's casting another one right here, so definitely wearing down some of my troops. But Flock of Doom did get nerfed quite a bit, so it's not as effective as it once was. And also you can see now that the back line is free, these Chaos Knights are just going to go skewer some peasants for sure. But, you know, the Bretonnian peasants seem to be pretty used to that, so it could be much worse. But yeah, the Chaos Knights look so freaking cool. We'll give you guys a little shot here. Just look at them leap in and see those peasants flying. That one actually got his head taken off there, so definitely not a fun time for these guys. Just look at him go, man. That's rough. So over here, the other group of Chaos Knights is now collapsing on the flank, and my Chaos Lord is in great shape, and he still has his potions. He's eager. He's active. So again, fatigue isn't really an issue, but still King Lewin is chasing off this Sorcerer, which was really, really tough. He is coming back, but you know, unfortunately, he's most likely not going to last much longer or, you know, have much more of an effect on this battle. But on that same coin, King Lewin was out there chasing him and not in here fighting, and that whole time, my Chaos Knights were able to collapse his flank. They're also chasing down some Peasant Bows back here. And also my Chaos Poison Warhounds are back in action. So they're doing an excellent job just feasting on these peasants because, again, Peasant Bowmen have pretty weak 17 weapon strength, so even Chaos Warhounds with their 22 weapon strength shine in this situation. So, but still, the Peasant Bowmen did a really, really good job of routing off that giant. But in the front line, it looks like my Aspiring Champions and my Chaos Knights were able to just break him. And King Lewin's in here, but I do have him surrounded with Marauders, some Aspiring Champions, and also my Lord will be getting on him shortly. And he does have that Filth, which is going to make him an exceptional duelist. You can see my opponent using another Flock of Doom here, just kind of tattering all my troops. Some of his Knights of the Realm and Questing Knights did come back, but they're in very, very bad shape. They're steady. So if they get into a situation where they start to lose, they're going to rout pretty quickly here. So some of my Chaos Knights, I still have 29 models. They're still confident. They have pretty good leadership, and they're definitely going to rout these guys off here in just a moment. Also, the second group of Chaos Knights was able to push off some of these Peasant Bowmen. These Yeomen here are still fighting. They actually have racked up 31 kills, which is not bad at all. So you can see some of these Chaos Marauders actually trying to catch this Damsel here. Definitely not going to get any of that. And over here, some of my Marauders coming back from rout as well. And they were actually trading pretty well with the Foot Squires all game. So I think, you know, maybe investing in like a relatively cheap front line with Chaos, like using some of these Marauders, and then just trying to overpower the Cav game might work out pretty well for Chaos. But still, you know, I have played against quite a few Bretonnian builds where they simply, you know, do, more of a peasant build. So they just have tons of Foot Squires, Battle Pilgrims, things like that, and they just kind of have this really atrocious shell style of strategy using the Fey Enchantress, and I think that build is a little bit stronger. And then they'll bring like a group of Royal Pegasus Knights and maybe one Questing Knight and just use them defensively. One of the biggest issues is my opponent really committed to that engagement with me out here, and he just lost so many resources. If he had like kept them in the back line and waited for me to make the move and then counteracted and maybe used some of his spears or some of his infantry to, you know, help out in that fight, it would have been very different. But still, King Lewin right now is surrounded. I do have my Chaos Lord here, who's just in great shape, and he's about to have Filth up again, so that's going to be really, really strong for me. The Hound's continuing to chase people down. The balance of power is still really even, and Hound's guys are excellent at chasing down casters. You can see this Damsel is poisoned. She's down to 61 speed, and it allows these Chaos Knights to just come over and lance this Damsel. She's definitely going to shatter here. Looks like she's trying to cast one more spell. Not sure what it was. I think it was a Whiteson's Wild Form on King Lewin over here. But again, King Lewin is also surrounded himself. He's having a really, really bad time versus these Chaos Marauders, actually, and some of these Aspiring Champions. Although he is, you know, pretty heavily armored himself. I guess 80 armor isn't that much. So the Aspiring Champions with their, 46 weapon strength, or excuse me, what is their weapon strength on those guys? Anyways, I kind of want to check that right now. So 44, they're able to get in there and do a little bit of work, and King Lewin is now breaking. It looks like Filth is up, and Filth, let's go ahead and actually slow it down here and just look at the benefits of the Filth. So it does, give a terror mechanic, which is really nice, plus 22% weapon strength, so he's now above 500 weapon strength, and it also gives a ton of other negative debuffs on your opponent, so very, very good stuff there. And the Chaos Knights and the Hounds are kind of just cleaning everything up. Of course, these Yeomen are out of missiles now, so they're not going to be able to do much more, but still, a really, really impressive outing from these mounted Yeomen. They actually got 61 kills there, but the Hounds and the Chaos Knights were able to win the day. We just had so much pressure on that back line, and we were able to win that fight. So I'm really interested to see how Chaos Knights will become incorporated in the meta, and I think they're pretty good against Bretonnia. Now, if Bretonnia had, done more of a Death Star, look at that giant, 0 kills. Man, those 4 peasant bowmen just put him in an absolute trash can. That was horrible, but, I took a beating there, but my opponent also took a massive beating in the Cav game. 100 kills, 69 kills, and only 27, although he did get 91 on that other group that was flanking, but his Cav really got outperformed there. And even Grail Knights, guys, I've had quite a few games against Grail Knights, and Chaos Knights, especially if you use the Mind Razor to give 44% and a massive AP boost, are able to really, really just do tons of damage, so it's pretty incredible stuff. The Marauders held up pretty well, 60 kills on these Chaos Marauders, and guys, they were fighting Squires, so still a great performance, for their cost. Definitely cannot complain. I really liked having the Chaos Lord with the Filth, gave him a lot of utility, and was definitely really good at kind of dragging King Lewin down into the quote-unquote filth. So very well played to my opponent, Bankmaster. Look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed that Chaos build. Let me know your thoughts. Honestly, I think it would have been more optimized just not getting the Giant, but other than that, I felt like it was pretty decent. So thanks again for watching, guys, and have an excellent night.